Hey, Diana, did you know that winning for your client isn't enough to get them to refer you?
Mark, that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
Ladies and gentlemen, jurists and just curious, welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast. Here you'll learn about marketing, management, and life skills for lawyers that probably won't get you disbarred. Hosted by Marc Whitehead, a seasoned lawyer who remembers when fax machines were cutting edge, and Diana Berry, attorney, COO, and the brains behind the scenes. Together, they are the legal world's most dynamic duo since statutes met regulations. So if you're looking to build a practice, not a prison, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Successful Barrister, where legal legends are made.
And welcome to the Successful Barrister podcast, the podcast for lawyers and law firm leaders about marketing, management, and life skills that probably won't get you disbarred. I'm your host, Marc Whitehead, alongside my number one, my co-host and chief troublemaker, Diana Berry. Hey, Diana, what's up?
I'm good, Mark. I'm a little curious what earned me that new title. I've been out of office is that why? Because I've been out of office?
No, you remember what you did, or maybe you don't remember what you did.
I don't. Well,
so
do
we just got back last week from the AAJ convention in Chicago, the American Association for Justice. I used to call it of Justice. I was corrected that I'm on the Board of Governors. It's for Justice. Anyway, so it just so happened, for those who don't know, we sit here in Houston and we're all big Houston Astros fans. So the Houston Astros, while we were in Chicago, were playing the Chicago White Sox.
You got us amazing tickets.
And I got us some amazing tickets right down behind the visitor dugout. And we went, and it was myself and Anthony, and then it was the four women of the firm, you, my wife, Marla, and Aaron. Mm-hmm. And y'all were sitting in the middle. We're all wearing Astros gear. So we're in the south side of Chicago, which is not, south side of Chicago has a reputation.
Okay.
So we're in the south side of Chicago wearing enemy colors, and y'all just go off in the middle of the game. Y'all are screaming and hollering and hooting and cheering. And I'm like, Anthony and I are looking at each other like we're in enemy territory. Like when the fight breaks out, y'all are not the ones going to get punched. It's Anthony and I that are going to get punched in the face.
There was a smattering of orange. I felt like it would have been a fair-ish
And you were the loudest.
They booed Altuve, and I just don't think you can get away with that.
I know,
and
that's what set you off. And you screamed you were screaming at pop flies. Pop flies to the infield you were screaming at. And all of these White Sox fans were turning around looking at you, and I'm like, I'm not with her. I'm just like, when I go in enemy territory, and especially when I'm wearing my team colors, I just sit there and shut up because I'm not looking to get into a fight. I don't need to go to jail.
And it was the most amazing game, guys. We went through, 5 pitchers the entire game. We gave up 3 runs in the first inning. Our first pitcher didn't even come back in the second inning because of a quote-unquote injury.
We were losing 5-0.
And then we got 5 runs in one inning. It was amazing.
We got 8 runs in one inning, and then all of a sudden, all those White Sox fans started turning and looking at us like they were looking for blood.
But they still kept booing Altuve, and you just don't do that.
I'm just saying, we barely got out of there alive because of you.
Yeah, well, we won. That's all I have to say.
What the hell are we talking about today?
Client referrals.
All right.
So particularly, we're using the framework of the case status legal CX report from this year.
All right.
And so you sent me this report and said to read it. We are case status clients, admittedly. We've talked about our relationship there.
All right. Pimp out case status real quick. Who are they?
They are a client app. They cringe a little bit when I call them a client portal, but they're an actual app for communicating with your client. And they have the Domino pizza tracker. I'm probably not doing them any justice, but what's really great for us as a volume firm is being able to communicate with our clients when important things happen in their case, and particularly with our mass torts clients to be able to communicate with them en masse about a recent update, so that all 350 Camp Lejeune clients aren't calling us, what does this recent news article mean about my case?
So with one button, with one push of the button, we can send out a group communication to all of our mass tort clients of any particular tort, but it also helps keep our clients up to date when their status of their case changes. It gives them a portal on their phone that they can upload records. It's basically a client communication tool. So the clients, when they come to us, the first thing we do is we get them to download the app on their phone, and teach them how to use it, and teach them this is the way we're going to communicate with them. But the cool thing about it, it also gives us feedback.
Yes.
So I think that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today.
Well, yes, we are. And we're going to talk particularly in reference to the client experience. So you're talking about the NPS score, which we've talked about in previous podcasts. But I think that the
Net Promoter Score.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Define your terms.
I don't do that very well. So I think that the whole thesis of the legal CX report was that a good outcome from an attorney and the client's perspective. So we reached a very a good settlement, a number
we win
that
their
we all
case.
agree-
Let's
yeah.
just call it a win. Say we win their case.
Everybody considers it a win, but your client still may not refer you to their friends and family. And so since we talk
Which
a lot
is
about
aggravating as hell.
but it's good to know, and I think that so for if you're, for example, an estate planning attorney, you're like, well, a case status app doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, of course it doesn't make sense to you because you probably are a smaller firm and you don't need to have another communication tool. But I think that the takeaways from the Legal CX report that we're going to talk about today are very applicable because we're trying to talk about how you get more referrals from your clients and what are the ways that you can do that, because it's really boils down to what case status termed the client experience.
So this is the 2026 study, because I know they did one a couple of years ago at least. I think they did.
Yeah.
They surveyed 430 lawyers, law firm leaders, and legal clients. They threw in legal clients. I wonder what the ratio was between lawyers and clients were. But to actually understand what actually creates a loyal client, because that's what we're really talking about here. We want those loyal clients that go out there and evangelize for us to the world.
The raving fans.
The raving fans. And how do we get those? And so this report kind of came back and kind of said some startling things and some shockingly low numbers when it comes to, why people refer or don't refer. I have a few theories of why I don't necessarily refer people to people I use all the time, and it kind of varies depending on who we're talking about. But, but when it comes to lawyers, you would think that after you've been to war for your client for, months, years, whatever it happens to be, that and you got them a good result, but they'd be stark raving fans. And it turns out that's not really the case.
Yep. So the statistic that came out from the report was that 68% of clients say that their experience matters just as much or more than the legal outcome of their case.
Mm-hmm. Hence the "Hey Diana."
Would you have ever thought that though, Mark? That if if you got a good outcome for your client, that you think that automatically they would refer you to their friends and family?
So it kind of goes back to this quote. I'm going to misquote Maya Angelou, but I think she is the source of this quote, is that people don't remember what you do. They remember how you made them feel. And I think I got that quote pretty damn close. That's
exactly correct. And that is really the foundation for the 6 or 7 talking points that we have today from that report, because that's exactly what they're talking about with
it's how you make your client feel.
Yep. And so today, I think, Mark, we're going to talk about what that means and how we do things at the firm, and some of the takeaways from Case Status's Legal CX report.
All right. We'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Marc Whitehead & Associates, a national disability benefits law firm. Marc Whitehead runs a firm of over 60 dedicated people whose mission is to make a difference in the lives of our injured and disabled clients. Marc represents disabled claimants in Social Security disability, private disability insurance, and veterans disability claims in all 50 states. Marc Whitehead is double board certified in both Social Security disability law and personal injury trial law. Marc has litigated disability cases in over 40 states and counting, and can help your clients too. Stop throwing your phone calls away. Call Marc Whitehead at 701-VIP-LEAD. That's 701-VIP-LEAD. Or visit our website at disabilitydenials.com. Referral fees are paid in all jurisdictions where it is permitted. Refer us your disability cases today and know that your clients will be in good hands.
And we're back. All right, Diana, lay it on me now. This is your outline. This is your topic. So tell Tell us about the client experience.
Well, I think we just need to challenge it a little bit, because I'm sure there are some attorney or some listeners out there that really are like, yeah, right, guys. So I think, Mark, do you agree? Is client experience really as important as the outcome? Do you buy that statistic that 68% of clients say that experience matters just as much or more than the legal outcome?
I think it's slightly relative to the outcome. If you got a tremendous outcome and your client experience was so-so, you probably still get the referral, or at least hopefully you would. But if you got them an average outcome, and it was an average experience, I think your chances go down, and vice versa. I mean, if it was the greatest experience in the world, other than you lost. Well, how bad did you lose? Why did you lose? So I think there's some gray in there, but I would think that it's still very important. I mean, I certainly know. Just using a goofy ass example. I mean, I've gone to doctors before that gave me the correct diagnosis, and for whatever reason, I liked the bedside manner, and I never went back. So yeah, bedside manner. That's the way I refer to it. It's your bedside manner. It matters. I think of it more as, can you make a connection, an honest connection with the client? You can deliver bad news, but if you make an honest connection with the client can respect you for it and be happy for that. So it's not always about the result. It's about, did you connect with them? Did they respect what you had to say? How'd you make them feel?
Yep, exactly. And I think that that's exactly, Mark, we just did dashboards with one of our teams today, and we got a shout out from one of the attorneys that leads the team, because his team lead, Kimberly, one of our most crucial, she's our team lead, been with you, I think, over 10 years now.
Yeah.
And she's team lead to one of our biggest departments. She was able to turn a 3-star review into a 5-star review, but she made that connection, and she did the hard thing and really was like, hey, listen, I don't have an update. The no update updates, what we talk about, we'll probably refer to quite a few times in this podcast, is, the no update updates particularly hard when you're dealing with long cases. And so, Mark, I think we're going to move to our next topic, which is that, happy clients aren't necessarily referring clients. And so you've done a great job. You've won their case. So for us, the monetary amount is capped, obviously, by the government with the work that we do. But what the report said is that 3 out of 4 clients say that they're highly satisfied, but only 41% would recommend their legal team, and only 29% would leave a positive review.
Okay, so that's a startling statistic. So look at that real quick. Like 3 out of 4, 75% of people are satisfied with the results that their attorney gives them. Yet there's a drop only to 41% that actually recommend them. So doing the math, that's a lot. So I'm not going to try to do the math.
That is a lot.
That's a big drop. And my question is why? Why? Why is there such a big drop? Now I get that only 29% would leave a positive review. I do think there's a segment of people out there who just don't like to leave reviews, period. I'm one of those people.
I was just going to say, yeah.
I don't do it.
We're the worst ones. Yeah.
I actually did leave a good review for a waitress last week when I was in New York City. And she was just struggling, and she really wasn't even providing a lot good of service. But at the end, now with electronic, point of service pay on the credit card, it gives you, all right, I had a 5-star. I'm like, well, would you give a review? And I didn't even know the woman's name, but I could tell she was so frazzled. I just walked up to her and like, could you give me your name?
No.
And I said, I need to write a good review for you. And she smiled.
No.
So, I felt
the way
good about
you made them feel.
made them feel, but I normally don't do that. So I went all throughout law school. They give you the reviews at the end of every semester where you're supposed to review your professors. They did at U of H.
I don't remember getting asked that.
Well, you and I went to the same damn law school.
Yeah,
well,
but
maybe they did away with it because
we
skewered them so bad.
Yeah.
I never filled those damn things out. I'm like, whatever. Even the sucky professors, I didn't fill them out. So
okay.
It's their decision. I'm not dealing with it anymore. I'm done.
Well, and I think that sometimes it can be very easy, right? Is it because that we have law firms who are still not asking for that? You don't have a set process to ask for the client review throughout or at the end of the case. That could be a huge component of the drop-off. But
I go back to the stat, 41% would recommend their legal team. That's different. They wouldn't even recommend you. is almost dumbfounding to me that there's that big of a drop off. So I don't know. What I think it should do, I don't have an answer for it, but I think it should be a wake up call.
Exactly. You know, the takeaway, or I think this is directly from the report: competence earns satisfaction, connection earns advocacy.
So I would say competence is table stakes. They expect you to be competent.
Yep.
I mean, just because you show competency doesn't impress them. I mean, that's what they expect. You got to go above the table stakes. You got to go beyond that, and that's basically how they're treated.
And we say this again and again in this podcast because for some of the listeners who are basically saying, well, that's just not fair and that doesn't apply to me, or, you know, why is this the new report, case status skewed the data, whatever your rebuttals might be in your head, because we're all attorneys and so we're all doing it. I think that the important thing to remember is that we're not competing against the law firm down the street, or even for, you know, us other, you know, SSDs and other parts of the nation. SSD firms across the nation, we're competing with other service industries, and nothing could have made that point more clear than the book Unreasonable Hospitality, which was a book we discussed in episode 69. Shameless plug there for that podcast, because, you know, everyone, it's about a restaurant in New York City. And it's a high-end restaurant in New York City, and the name escapes me right now.
Well, it's got something to do with the show The Bear. I can't remember what.
But like you said, it's table stakes. Everybody expects when you walk into that restaurant that you're going to eat great food, have great service, and, you know, it's going to be an experience. But what set them apart from other restaurants of similar stature in New York City? And it's that they went above and beyond, and they made their clientele feel very welcomed, very special, and created an experience for their clients,
yes,
for their clientele.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So this is where I think it really makes sense, where the report really makes sense, and why we're talking about it today, because the argument is that client experience or client service is your new marketing strategy.
Absolutely. You know, that is the one thing that you can do that the Morgan & Morgans of the world are never going to be able to do. They're never going to be able to provide the same level of client experience that you, as I'm going to just call it the hometown lawyer, is going to be able to do, the one-on-one lawyer. You know, and yes, we don't have millions and millions of dollars to spend on advertising, you know, like the Morgan & Morgans. We don't have the billboards out there and everything like that. You know, and we do our fair share of marketing, don't get me wrong, but, you know, a large chunk of our clients come from either referrals from our clients or referrals actually from other lawyers, because we feel the same way about other lawyers. We try to treat other lawyers with a lot of dignity and respect and pay attention to them. Speaking of which reminds me, I got to call a lawyer back today.
Do I need to make that a to-do?
It's a to-do. Put it on my to-do list. I need to call somebody. They're trying to refer me a case. So I call them back today. Call back. If the lawyer's calling you to refer you a case, make sure you call them back same day, you know, or at least have your assistant call them back. Don't let them hang.
Yes. Same day is very
form.
important, because it makes them feel important. We're coming back to all of this. Why do you, I mean, this isn't just a client referral principle, guys. This is all your referrals. What is going to continue to increase your referrals coming in? And it's now not just your marketing spend. It's not how much you're spending on Google ads. It is how your ops team is treating these clients. And I think that that's the argument. So, Mark, I really do have to ask you the hard question. Mm-hmm. If we, you know, magically manufactured $50,000 right here,
yes,
where would you spend it? Would you spend it on Google ads?
I was going to say Vegas. But,
no.
Sorry.
Let's try again.
The different question.
Let's try again. Would you spend it on maybe something client experience-y, like maybe invest in a new tool, new automation, something that would create or improve rather the client experience? Would you do Google ads?
Well, okay,
Have
so
I convinced you that it's a marketing strategy?
That's a trick question, because you know.
You're going to
because my answer is I'm going to do both. That's
Yep.
that's the right answer. It's an and, not an or. You got to do both. But yes, spending money on the client experience is important, you know, and I can think of a lot of ways that, you know, number one, you know, a nice little wow package to welcome people as they come into the firm, you know, not an expensive thing to do. within the rules of ethics, gifting at appropriate times of the year, birthday cards. But I still think, developing, you don't even have to spend money necessarily. You develop systems to make a connection. So, all right, my dentist, every time I see my dentist, and I see him a lot because the way the status of my teeth.
Tell us more about that.
Tell us more about, all my teeth falling out. Every time I see him, he asks about New York because he knows my daughter lives in New York. Does he remember that? No, it's written somewhere on my chart. Because he's probably looking at my chart every time he comes. I'm like, this guy. I need to keep this guy around because he's making me a ton of money.
You're his retirement plan?
I'm his retirement plan. But every time he talks to me about New York, and I know that somebody has made the effort to put that in my chart. So they put some personal information in my chart, and there's no reason that we can't do that. I take it a little different when I talk to clients. And for some reason, I always get the clients that live out in rural areas. My client yesterday lived in Gilmer, Texas, which is out in the middle of nowhere, close to where you grew up.
I was just going to say, I know where Gilmer is.
I know. Well, I know where Gilmer is too, because I used to drive through it all the time when I was driving up to see my grandparents in Tennessee. So just making that little connection, I'm from East Texas too. I know where Gilmer is. And we start talking about, wasn't it the Gilmer Pirates? Isn't that their mascot?
I don't know that.
I don't remember. I was sort of thinking it was the Pirates. But anyway, just making a connection with somebody. A client that I've never met in person, just came to me, and she lives, Gilmer's 200 miles away, something like that. But just make that small town connection, just some way to connect with people. And now I know every time I talk to her, we're going to talk about small town Texas.
And now you'll remember that. And, you were talking about systems, and I have to refer to Kimberly again because she's just so very good at connecting with people. But she obviously also has systems that she's put into place, and she uses the tasks. And so, of course, one of her jobs is to follow up with clients who have not moved beyond a certain stage after a certain amount of time. And inevitably with this particular stage, they'll be like, oh, well, I got sick and I went to the hospital, or I have this surgery and I promise I'll get back to you what you need. But, Kimberly has a KPI. She's like, well, I really need to be able to, move you along, or at least maybe you need to come back and see us at a different time. They're like, well, just call me next week. And so she'll set herself a task in our system, call client back next week. And then in parentheses, she'll say, ask about surgery, or ask about how she's feeling today because she was not feeling well last week. So it's so simple, guys, that we're not asking you to invest in, the case status app. We're obviously big proponents. We've used them for 3 years now,
something like that.
And don't see an end to that relationship. But we're not asking that to create the client experience. You don't have to go out and invest the whole $50,000 I've mythically presented to Mark. Use what existing systems you do have. And that's just a parenthetical.
You should just, in whatever case management system you have, you should have a field for personal detail. I'm just going to call it personal detail. They're a Red Sox fan. They like apple pie. Whatever little detail you can hone from the initial conversations, just make it a special place, and just try to refer back to that every time you have a conversation. Don't beat it to death, of course. I really do want to tell my dentist that I actually have an interest other than New York City, but whatever. I appreciate he's trying.
Yep. He's just doing the best he can. That may be, he may be a low I, Mark, have sensitivity to the rest of the low I's in the world. But I think that, moving on to the next kind of point that we wanted to make on this podcast is, what else can you do, right? Mark and I are just kind of riffing on some things that we do at the firm. But Mark, what are some things that actually move beyond that, this quote unquote good customer service that you think makes clients want to refer you to their friends and family? Well,
you want to make the client feel cared for. So how are they going to remember that? Number one, communication. It's the most important thing. And I know everybody knows this, but then everybody ignores it. But just keeping clients updated, even if there's no update. What we call it, the no update update.
Yep, the hardest one.
Nothing's happened. Your case has been before the government for 4 months, and not a damn thing has happened. But we needed to call you and just let you know there's nothing happening. But we're still here. We're still alive. We want to make sure you're still alive.
Yep.
Are you okay? Can we do anything for you? That sort of thing. The no update update. Obviously, fast response times. We have a standard that, you're supposed to return messages within 4 hours. And it doesn't have to be the same way. If they call you and leave you a voicemail, you can send them a text back, or, you can manage your time. But, call your people back or communicate with them. Let them know that they exist. Let them know that you're in their consciousness, that they're important. So we already talked about remembering the personal details. I like this one, celebrating wins. So back in the day when we had live hearings, before all these virtual hearings that we have now, and I would, spend 2 or 3 hours with a client, and we'd walk out of the hearing, and generally we knew if we won or not. You didn't always know, but most of the time you knew if you won. And when you won, that's the best time to celebrate. You talk, you start talking shop, you start talking, what do you like to do? Let's talk about good things. In the meantime, I'm going through their benefits that they're going to get, and they're just, everybody's feeling good, everybody's feeling happy, everybody's getting hugs. We're celebrating. We got to win. Let's celebrate that win. A little bit harder to do now on the phone. We used to do it, 1-2 hearings last week for a client, and they were, virtual hearings. So as soon as we got off the virtual hearing, I immediately called the client. Like, all right, we won. Let's talk. Now the judge is off the line. Let's talk. So we celebrate the win. So celebrate those wins. Those are things that clients remember.
Yep. And I know we're talking about the client experience. So that's the relationship while the case is pending. But we do have other episodes. Again, I'm going to talk about, for example, episode 42, where we talk about how you can continue to keep your client engaged after the representation. And so, for example, along those win lines, Mark, some of the law firms that we talk about or talk to send a 1-year kind of anniversary of the settlement.
Yeah.
And so those continue those highs, those dopamine rushes from the settlement. And so, Mark, we talk a lot about technology on this podcast. We both love tech, and obviously case status is one of those tech options out there, but it is not meant to be a one-size-fits-all, especially at our firm.
And especially technology can't replace humans. Okay, we're in the human relations business. We don't sell widgets. We sell service. We sell our humanity. That's our differentiator, our humanity. So, but technology can help with that. Let's not lie. We have tickler systems that remind our case managers that you need to talk to your client. You haven't talked to your client in a while. So all of those things can help, but it helps, us be better humans. It doesn't replace us being better humans.
Yep. And so one of those things that for us, for example, the status updates. So, for example, your case is still pending at DDS, at one of the offices in the Social Security system. That's a simple text or case status message or an email, whichever way the client prefers to be communicated with, which should be something that you also keep track of. I think that especially, that's more relevant for our practice area. But some of our clients are elderly, and they're like, please don't send me a case status message. I don't know how to work the app. Please call me. And if your client has to continue to ask for their preferred method of communication, you're clearly not paying attention to what they want. And even though it may not be your most efficient use of your time to make that phone call when you could have sent a text just as easily, you're ignoring, and they'll remember that. They'll remember how you made them feel.
So texts are good for reminders, appointments, for just basic mundane things. But generally speaking, I would say texts are not good for delivering bad news.
Yes.
Hey, don't break up via text. That's kind of rude.
Yes.
God, I wish I had that when I was a teenager.
Oh, Mark.
That would have been so brilliant, just breaking up by text. Yeah. I would have saved so
I'm
much
sure
hard.
the young generation.
Of course, it would have bounced back on me too. So don't get me wrong. I got dumped as much as I dumped. So.
Is that a separate episode?
That was this is a whole separate therapy session. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe she dumped me.
This is my Kimberly episode, because I will have to tell you that one of these things that is, as you guys may or may not know, with Social Security, Mark can give me the statistic. You are very likely to get denied in your first and your second stages of the process.
You have a 70% denial rate on your first application, and you have some upwards of 80 to 90% denial rate on your your request for reconsideration. So tremendous odds against you,
And
statistically speaking.
And we have a high volume firm, as everyone knows. But Kimberly put her foot down and she said, "You will call every denial because they deserve to hear from you. You're not gonna. Yes, you can say, 'Hey, we received these news,' and that's the tech. That's the utilization of tech. Hey guys, yep, we are aware this news came. I will call you within the next day or whatever. I'll call you in this window of time to discuss what this means for your case." And she was the one that says they need to hear from us. And so I think that when you can find people like that who really understand the difference of, or who can balance that fine line of using technology with that personalization, like you said, Mark, no, bad news needs to come from a human.
Right. And then with the bad news, you can then spin it and give them the good news. It's like, okay, and this is how we train our people. Like, yes, you were denied at your initial application. I understand this sucks, but remember, we kind of talked to you about this at the beginning. This is likely to happen. And the good news is now we've gotten this part of the process out of the way. Now we can move on to the process where we're more likely to win. So we've moved the ball down the road. So it's how you frame it, and how you deliver the news is, it's not the news you wanted, but it is moving the ball forward.
And I was trying to figure out how we can make this applicable to our estate planning listeners. And so, some of them have monthly clients, and I think that would be also a great time to pick up the phone and call them and just say, "Hey, has anything changed that we need to talk about?"
That wasn't where I was going with
that. Oh, tell me more.
I don't know. It's just, this is weird. Like, hey, your estate plan is done. Good news now. You can go die in peace.
No, use my tactic, guys.
I probably wouldn't. I don't know. I just got finished with my estate plan.
You're feeling very good about it.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I can die in peace now.
Okay. But I think that, maybe if you're on this recurring monthly plan with your attorney, it would be a good way.
Oh, no, his rate's way too high. I can't afford that.
But if you have some of these other law firms may have that, I think it'd be a great opportunity to call and say, "Hey, I sent you an email. Look at it when you have time. But if it's really just wanting to touch base, make sure nothing really has changed, that we don't need to schedule any time to, talk about any changes to your plan." Because otherwise they're just getting that recurring charge on their
Yeah, really. Well, you got to do something to justify that annual charge that they sell. So,
so of course, Mark, I'm going to move to measuring client experience because
the numbers. How do we
I need
this?
I need my
a number
data
on it?
Because we talk a lot. I think that I forget. Oh, I lost it in my notes in my prep here. But we talked in one of our prior podcasts about developing a client relations department at the firm, and why we did it now after Mark's been in business for over 30 years, and really what that does for what her role is, and how we measure all of those things. So go back and find it, client relations department, and that was a good podcast for it. But Mark, you mentioned earlier that Case Status provides us with certain tools to help us, like the NPS score.
The Net Promoter Score, and this is a good canary in the coal mine. This is because what you want are 5-star Google reviews. What you don't want are 1-star Google reviews, because those get out in the public and those are permanent. So the beauty of the Case Status system is it gives you the client, every time there's an interaction, an opportunity to rate you between 1 and 10, and I think the rating has some specific meanings behind it, but maybe you can fill us in better than I can. But the long and the short of it, it's only internal. It only goes to us, and it lets us know if there's a problem before there really is a problem. So if we get a low rating, that immediately sends up a flag. Somebody needs to call this person and see what's going on. What can we do? How can we do better? Before it becomes a real problem. So, and always thank them. If they give you a bad NPS score, the first thing you do when you call them on the phone to check out what's going on is thank you for filling out the form. It's good. We need to know this. We need to know this.
And so 2 follow-ups on that. One of the cool things now that most tech will be able to do, not just case statuses, if they give you something like a 1 out of 10, and so they give you, if you're there 8 to 10, they'll automatically send a Google review link so that you can take that very high NPS and take that and make it a Google review, which is obviously what we want to do. But also one of the things that Case Status does is track response to how fast our team is responding to case status messages. We look at that with a bit of a grain of salt because, again, some of our clients prefer, they may message on the case status app, but they may be like, call me. And so, that may increase the response time because they returned a case status message with a phone call. But it does give you an idea of who is responding to case status messages quickly with
our system can track these things.
Yep. And so
track response time.
Exactly. Response time is one of those key metrics that I think that we're going to start to put on some of our dashboards for case status.
Frequency of proactive updates, all that gets tracked. All that can come into a number. I saw here Google review rate. I'm not sure what that number means.
I think we're trying to get to see how many Google reviews we're actually getting per case manager based on the NPS. But
Gotcha.
I think I could be wrong on that, and that's something that we're trying to get to. But Mark, I think that the real thing as we close up this segment is why aren't more firms doing this? Hopefully, we've laid the base case for why you should be investing in your client experience, whether that's creating client relations department like we did, or whether that's investing in tech like case status. Mark, why do you think this is going to be a hard sell for some of our listeners?
I think the main thing is nobody owns it. Somebody's got to own it, and if nobody owns it, there's no accountability. And if there's no accountability, it doesn't happen because it takes effort. It doesn't necessarily take a lot of money, but it does take effort. Where there's accountability, there are results. Let's just be real about that. So I think it all is just that simple chain. Nobody owns it, no accountability, then there's no results.
Yep, and so I don't like to bring up my failings too much on this podcast to give Mark cause for doubt, but we had invested in case status Mark invested in case status for a number of years before we did anything with the NPS scores because to his point, there wasn't a human dedicated to it. And so now, if you go back and listen to the client relations podcast, you'll hear, but what we did is now our client relations coordinator, she receives a report every Monday at 8 a.m. about our prior week's NPS scores. She goes into each matter that has, I think I've given her anything that is 7 and below, and she summarizes it for me. And every Monday, it's beautiful. It ends up in my inbox, and I get to make the decision that, this is something that needs to be red flagged, or no, this was all, it's fine. But she makes it so easy for me. She not only owns the number, it's so easy for me. I don't have to click on anything. It's right there. And so I think that type of process where it's seamless for the decision maker is one of the things that you're going to want to implement.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
So where do we start?
I don't know. So when we come back, 5 things, either takeaways from the report that we have or some opportunities for you to implement in your own firm.
All right. We'll be right back.
This is Marc Whitehead, lawyer, entrepreneur, and business coach. Thanks for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast. If we've stirred your juices, hit me up with an email at mark@markwhitehead.com. Remember, Mark is spelled with a C. And get on the Successful Barrister newsletter mailing list. Even better, let's set up a call. I'd love to talk to you about working together, talk shop, or just shooting the breeze.
All right, Diana, here we go. So we've talked about the client's experience, but let's come up with some action items that people can take away with. So it's one thing to talk about it. Now, what the hell should our people be doing about it?
Well, hopefully we have some tips.
I think we have a few tips. So number one, I would say, remember this, that the client experience starts long before the outcome or the end of the case. Okay, that starts from day one when the client walks in. So we train our intake staff, in client service and how to be friendly and quite frankly, they're very good at getting 5-star reviews right at the initial intake, which may violate terms of service. I don't care. Google is not my God. It may be somebody else's, but screw them. I take Google's rules with a grain of salt.
I think you're okay on that one.
Like Google gives a shit about what I think, honestly. So
well, let's not ask them to incur their wrath upon us.
Okay.
So echoing that, Mark, I think the second takeaway is that client satisfaction doesn't automatically create referrals. Happy clients are not always going to become advocates. And so if you want client referrals and if you want more 5-star reviews, you're going to have to intentionally create moments that make clients want to talk about your firm. And
And I will add to that, you also need to ask for the referral. So again, back in the day when we had live hearings and I used to get to commiserate with clients on a more regular basis, you know, at the end when we're celebrating the victory, I say, hey, before we leave, I want to make a deal with you. I've traded all my attorneys on this speech, and they better still be doing it. We want to be your lawyer for life. And so here's my deal. If you ever need a lawyer other than the phone, call us. And we never charge a client to talk to them on the phone. That offers good for life. Once a client, always a client. You know, you're reinforcing that relationship. And then here's the deal. All I ask in return is if you ever have anybody that needs an attorney for any reason, doesn't matter if it's what we do or what we don't do, send them our way. I'd certainly appreciate it. And if we can't help them, I'll certainly help them find another lawyer who can help them. And that's a quick little speech. I can say that in 30 seconds. You say it when the client is really happy with it, but you have to be very clear. You want the referrals. You can't just assume that they know you want referrals. And I made it very specific. It doesn't have to be disability work. It can be anything. So, and you know, so what? You send me a traffic ticket case? Guess what? I'm sending it to my friend over here who does traffic tickets, and then guess what? He's going to send me a case. So referrals are stock in trade. You know, it doesn't have to be exactly what you do. Any referral is a good referral.
Yep.
You're on number. Oh, who? Is it me?
It's
still me.
You.
Oh,
You got on the soapbox.
I got on a soapbox.
Well, it's very important.
It's a good tip. Number 3 on our list: client service is your best marketing investment. Well, that's kind of what I just said.
It is.
It is so simple and so easy, but you have to invest in it. And quite frankly, you have to make the ask. And some people just don't like asking for referrals. And it's just a mental thing, and you have to get over it. And once you get over it, once you get used to it, it becomes like second nature. It's easy. Always ask for the referral. It's your best marketing dollar ever spent.
And number 4 for me is that don't forget that communication is your competitive advantage. So fast responses, proactive updates, and consistent communication reduce anxiety and make clients feel cared for. And those are 3 very easy KPIs, trackable metrics, whatever you want to call it, that you can set up today so that you can start seeing how you're doing with client experience. And so, for example, proactive updates. How often is your team doing the no update? Or consistent communication? Do you have a way to track the last time your client was communicated with? We have, I think most PI firms do a really good job of that. We have to touch the file every 30 days, a lit file especially, for every 30 days. And it has to be an attorney that does it. If you don't have a way to track that in your system, every case management software can do it for you to make it a KPI, add it to a dashboard so you know what's happening, how you're tracking the client experience.
As you frequently do, you just stepped all over my number 5.
Well, let's wrap us up, Mark.
Let's wrap us up. Number 5, I wrote down build systems that make caring consistent. Don't rely on individual attorneys or staff to remember. Build it into your CRM system. Again, exactly what you said. You have the tickler system. You have to make contact with the client every 30 days. It must be an attorney. You know, create processes that ensure every client receives a great experience every time. I tell you again, that little interest fields that you put, what are the client interests? They like volleyball, they like soccer, you know, they like rodeo, they like baking, they like apple pie, they have an apartment in New York or something, whatever it is. Put something, make it something that's mandatory that you do for every client. Put a field in your CRM system. And then look at it and use it as, you know, whenever it makes sense.
Yep. So, Mark, if you, what would you want your dentist to know about you other than you had an appointment?
I would like him to know that I really like good restaurants and I like to eat and I like restaurant recommendations. Therefore, find me some good recommendations for restaurants.
That's a good one.
He's actually over in a very restauranty, swanky part of town, so he should know.
Yep. I do feel like
this is what I would like him to tell me.
I agree. I feel like I would just do better with people if I had a little button that said, "We'll talk about food."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody loves. Who does not love food?
So find your clients. We'll talk about food, guys, and let us know what those are. So.
Yes. All right. With that, we got to get out of here. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the Successful Barrister podcast, where legal legends are made. I'm Mark.
And I'm Diana.
And together we're the dynamic duo of law. So if you like this podcast, please rate and review us wherever you get your podcast. give us a lovely 5-star. Or if Diana pisses you off, give her a 3-star. Don't be hard.
Hey, no. Just email me first, please. Email me first.
Give Mark a 5-star, give Diana a 3-star, and let's just see how this works out.
We can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll negotiate. And make sure to drop us a line. My email is mark@markwhitehead.com. Mark spelled with a C. Diana is
Diana@markwhitehead.com.
with how many N's?
Just one.
Just one N. Okay. And be sure to visit us at successfulbarrister.com for more episodes and other interesting information and materials if you want to learn more about kind of what we're all about. And finally, and most importantly, we want to thank our sponsor, Marc Whitehead & Associates, a national disability law firm, which you can find by visiting www.disabilitydenials.com. And with that, let's build a practice, not a prison.
Bye.
See ya.